Okay, so we are on Daf Gimel Amud Bet. We are at the two dots, 3 lines from the top. So we finished saying yesterday that that the nezek and the chatzi nezek were extra forms of payment, meaning they're not the principal payment. That's why we needed to put the two of them separate as opposed to just regular damages. Says the Gemara like this, 3 lines from the top. Shlosha minaran. From where do we know that we need to have three judges?
From the Mishnah.
Yeah, but where does the Mishnah know it? Right? Every time that the Mishnah is gonna say something, there has to be a pasuk that supports it more or less. Okay, so from where? What was the source for that? So the Gemara says, Detanu Rabanan, Chachamim taught, V'nikav ba'al habayit el ha'elohim. That's Harei kan echad. When it says the word V'nikav ba'al habayit el ha'elohim, the ba'al habayit, it's going to be this case. I believe it's by the Eved Ivri, okay, where his slave the Jewish slave wants to stay more than he's allowed, so he can stay up to the Oved, but if he does so, the master brings him to the door and he pierces his ear by the door. Right? Mm-hmm. So it says V'nikav ba'al habayit, the master will approach. El ha'elohim. Ha'elohim is obviously not referring to God in this case, rather it's referring to the judges. Right? So ha'elohim is one. That's where we know we need one judge, because it says one time the word Elohim referring to judges.
But Elohim is plural, so it doesn't mean it's two.
No. The word Elohim is one.
Harei kan echad.
Okay, Harei kan echad. Ad ha'elohim yavo devar shenehem. Okay, Harei kan shnaim. So again, it says the word Elohim, and now it's in regards to. In regards to monetary cases between two people, okay, that they're not sure if he's obligated to pay or not. So it says Ad ha'elohim, he gets to Elohim, is going to be the judges. Okay, yavo devar shenehem, harei kan shnaim, asher yashi'un Elohim, harei kan shlosha. Right? So we see 3 times the word Elohim, which is going to be referring to judges in different cases. Therefore, from here we know that you need three people, okay, 3 judges to judge normally. Divrei Rabbi Yoshaya. So these are the words of Rabbi Yoshaya. Rabbi Yonatan Omer, Rishon techila neemar ve'en doshin techilot. Ela ad Elohim yevar devar shnehem, harei kan echad, asher yarshion Elohim. Harei kan shenayim ve'en bedin shakul mosifim alehem od echad. So he says, Rabbi Yonatan says no. Really, there's going to be
from the psukim.
From the psukim, we only learn 2. Why? Because the first one that's mentioned is you don't. Then we're going to talk about this concept right now. Is endo shin techilot. What's endo shin techilot? Meaning the first time it's mentioned in the pasuk, we don't use it for a drasha. It's there in the pasuk just to say whatever purpose, but it's not meant to teach us anything new. So if we don't use that to teach us anything, that means that we have only 2 more Elohims left to make a drasha from them, which means that we need 2 judges. Okay?
Yeah.
But even he agrees that in reality you need 3 judges. Why? Because you can't have an even number. Okay? And the Gemara is going to explain, the Gemara is also going to go and talk about the differences that arise from if you're going to say 1 judge if you're going to say it's really 2 judges plus 1, like what we just said right now, or 3 judges from the get-go.
Okay, like Rabbi
Yeshaya. Okay, Yeshaya. Rabbi Yeshaya says, the pasuk says 3, and Rabbi Yonatan says 2 from the psukim. Okay, so Nema, says the Gemara, let us say Bidoshin techilot kamifligi. Let us say that their argument of Rabbi Yoshaya and Rabbi Yonatan are arguing when we have these psukim, that any type of psukim, do we make the first one into a drasha as well, or do we skip over that one for the drasha? So let's say that their argument between if you need 3 from the psukim, or if you only need, or you only have 2 from the psukim, is based on this argument. One holds that you do make the drasha even in the first one, and the other one says that you don't. Says the Gemara, no. Lo. They both agree that we do not make a drasha on the first one. So if so, how can Rabbi Yoshaya count the first one as a drasha? Right? He said it very clearly. He said that he's using the first one as a drasha. Now, if we normally say that the first one isn't used for a drasha, and he agrees to that, then how can he use that as a drasha? Says the Gemara, Amar lecha Rabbi Yoshaya. So Rabbi Yoshaya is going to tell you, Im ken ne'ma krav v'nikrav ba'al habayit el hashofet my ha'elohim. Right? The Torah could have used a different word in this case. Shofet. Right? What's the difference going to be between Shofet and Elohim? We're going to see that Elohim is Elohim. It sounds like Elohim is more of a Dayan Musmach. Okay, Shofet sounds like a lower level, and we'll see that very shortly. So it says, "V'nikam balabayit el hashofet, my el ha-Elohim." So why did the Torah have to say Elohim? Shma mina minyana. Okay, leminyana. It's coming to teach us the number. That what? Since it put 3 of the same words, it's coming to teach us that we need 3 judges. Because otherwise, if it was just coming to tell me the concept of it, he needs to go to the shofet, right, a judge or whatever it is, to even to like a dayan. He could have said the word shofet, but why did he use specifically the word Elohim?
To teach us
that you need 3. Okay.
My problem here is that we're picking two psukim where it talks about that and it says the word Elohim. So, okay, what if I find another 10 psukim where it talks about Elohim, where it could be the meaning of a judge? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the fact that Rav comment ça s'appelle? Yeshaya, he picks 2 psukim. Rabbi Yonatan, he picks 1 pasuk. What if Rabbi X can find a 3rd pasuk where there's another 2 shoftim? Then it's 5.
So all of these psukim of Elohim are more or less
on the topic. On the topic of Nezek.
So we see the first one, V'nikal barabayit Elohim. Im lo yimatzeh. Mechila. V'nikav balabayit el Elohim is, there's also one that talks about by the Eved Ivri, but over here it's talking about the Ganav. Im lo yimatzeh Ganav v'nikav balabayit Elohim im lo shalach yado v'imlechet re'eu. So all these 3 things
is Nezek.
Are in 2 psukim, one after each other. So if you look at the side, the Torah, right?
Zayin and Chet, yeah.
It's Zayin and Chet. It's 2 psukim, one after the other, all talking about the same thing, right?
I find the proof that it's coming from the psukim a little bit.
If we're talking about the same topic, in the same topic, you're mentioning the word Elohim 3 times. Why are you doing that? Same topic, literally 2 psukim, one after one, 2 psukim.
Okay, but you're actually the fact that you mentioned the Eved Ivri is a good. What if we can say, but no, but there's also a pasuk that talks about Eved Ivri, so then that's 4, but that's shakul, so you need 5.
No, we're going to see that there is an opinion that says we need 5, but over here, since it's all in the same topic, that's the point. Since it's in the same topic about being judged for the same exact thing, and it says 3 times the word Elohim, so we see that for one judgment you need 3. By the Eved Ivri, we don't. It doesn't say the word Elohim 3 times. It just says it once. Okay? So it says, אם לא ימצא הגנב ונקרב בעל הבית אל האלוהים, אם לא שלח ידו במלאכת רעהו, then the next one. על כל דבר פשע, על שור החמור, על שיער סמה, על כל אבדה אשר יאמר כי הוא זה עד האלוהים, okay, עד האלוהים, יבוא דבר שלהם, אשר ירשיעון אלוהים, ישלם שיניים לרעהו. Okay, so again, we have the word Elohim 3 times for the same exact case.
Donc lui, il dit,
Yeshaya,
il dit, le premier, il nous est justement ramené pour nous enseigner que c'est 3.
So
C'est pas une preuve, ça.
No. So again, they both agree, like we said, they both agree that normally we won't make a drasha for the first one. Okay, so how can Rabbi Yoshaya actually make a drasha? If he agrees to that, how can he make a drasha on that? So he says because when it says V'nikav ba'al habayit el Elohim, it could have easily just said the word shofet instead of Elohim. Why did it choose to use the word Elohim specifically?
To teach us.
Because since it's going to have Elohim 2 times afterwards, and the word Elohim 2 times afterwards is coming to tell me judges. Mm-hmm. So the word Elohim over here is also to teach me an extra judge.
Okay.
Okay.
Rabbi Yochanan ne va pas être d'accord.
Rabbi Yonatan, bien sûr que non. Of course not. He says it very clearly. Okay. ורבי יונתן לישנה דעלמא נקט כי דאמרי אינשי מן דאית לדינה לקרב לגבי דיינה. So he says no. When the Torah used the word Elohim the first time, yeah, it could have used the word shofet, right? But it's just a way of it's just a way of speaking. Okay? So when you have a serious judgment, what are you going to do? You're going to say, am I going to go to a judge or am I going to go to an arbitrator?
Good question.
Right? Normally when you say these things, you say, okay, let's go to a judge. Right? You don't say, let's go to an arbitrator. And this is what Rashi tells us, לגבי דיינה, אצל דיין הרגיל ולא אצל הדיוט. So Rashi tells us that the word shofet implies more a hediot, more a person that is just a regular person. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when the Torah uses it, he says it just because the Torah speaks in the language of people, meaning it speaks like, the same language that people speak. And since people are normally going to say, okay, let's go to the judge, it used the word Elohim as opposed to shofet. Okay. Says the Gemara, based on this, V'Rabbi Yoshaya let leil bedin note. Based on this, that what? That according to Rabbi Yoshaya, the pasuk needed to tell me 3 times the word dayan, or 3 times the word Elohim, right? To teach me that you need 3 judges. It sounds like if the Torah would have only said 2, how many judges do you need?
3.
No. If the Torah only would have said 2, then we would only use 2. Because he argues on Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Yonatan says the Torah says 2, and then we know since you can't have an even number, it really means 3. And Rabbi Yoshaya says no. You need 3 because the pasuk says 3, which means that if it would only say 2, you would need 2, and you wouldn't need a third one to make it an odd number.
No, I get it, but it's a klal that you cannot have a number shakul, right?
So we'll see. So the Gemara now discusses and says, wait a second. It sounds like that Rabbi Yoshaya doesn't need there to be an odd number. For him, it sounds like that even an even number can be okay. Okay? So says the Gemara, the Rabbi Yoshaya letlei bedinote. He doesn't hold this concept that bedin needs to be an odd number. V'hatanya Rabbi Eliezer beno shel Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer Ma Talmud lomar lintot. Why does the Torah tell me that it's lintot? What does the Torah say the word lintot, which is what? Lo tiyeh acharei rabim leraot ולא תענה על ריב לנטות אחרי רבים לנטות. Meaning, you need to lean towards the majority, which means that you can't have an even number. You have to have an odd number. Okay? לנטות אחרי רבים להטות. HaTorah amra, so he explains, HaTorah amra, the Torah told us, עשה לך bedin noteh. Make sure that there's a bedin that you can tip to either way. Okay? So, says the Gemara, Savar la ki Rabbi Yehuda. So he says, Rabbi Yoshaya holds like Rabbi Yehuda, that what? The Amal Shiv'im. In the Mishnah, we saw that when it comes to the Sanhedrin Gdola, how many do we need?
71.
Rabbi Yehuda said in the Mishnah, he said that you need only 70. You don't need 71. So, if Rabbi Yehuda holds 70, that means that Rabbi Yehuda is in agreement that you don't need to have an odd number. Correct? And he actually brings a pasuk to prove it as well. He says, Esfali shivim ish miziknei Israel.
Plus Moshe.
That's what we said. But the Torah told us shivim ish. So it sounds like the Sanhedrin was 70. Now, because we wanted to be bedin noteh, we said that Moshe Rabbeinu was added onto there. But if you just take the literal pasuk, it can be 70. Okay? התורה אמרה, עשה לך בדין נותן, ספק לעבודו, הדבר 70. דתנן, סנהדרי גדולה הייתה של 71. The big Sanhedrin was of 71, was of 71. ורבי יהודה אומר 70. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's enough to have 70. So it says in the Gemara, okay, that's great. We have Rabbi Yeshaya is now in accordance with Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, Eimar de shamat lele Rabbi. But the Gemara says, wait a second. When did Rabbi say his halacha that you only need that you can have an odd number, even number? Bisanhedre gedora, by the big Sanhedrin, dichtive krai, because by that one you actually have a pasuk that says it very clearly. Bishar bedina mishamatre. But who said that you can make this halacha for the other bedin of the 23 and of the 3? V'chitema lo shna. And if you're going to tell me, what difference does it make? The big bedin, the small bedin, what difference does it make? V'hatnan smichat zekenim. When the elders do the leaning, meaning if there was a korban of the, if there was a korban that how do you say it? That I think was the public that needed to do it. So the zekenim, okay. The meaning it was a mistake that the whole Bnei Israel did. So there's halacha. It's par ha'elem. If I'm not mistaken, it's the par ha'elem davar. Okay, which basically means it's going to be a korban chatat, but it's the korban chatat for all of Bnei Israel. So what happens? The zekenim, they come and they do semicha on them, on the par for the Bnei Israel. So it says smichat zekenim varifat egla bishlosha. You need to have 3. What's egla? Egla arufa. We spoke about in the beginning in the Mishnah what egla arufa is. Divrei Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda omer b'chamisha. Rabbi Yehuda says that you need 5. So we see that always it's always going to be an odd number. Ve'amrinan mai tama de Rabbi Yehuda. And we say, what's the reason why Rabbi Yehuda says you need 5? So he says, V'samechu. When it says in the pasuk V'samechu, they shall lean. Shnayim. This is referring to 2 people. Ziknei, right? When it says Ziknei is going to be Shnayim, is going to be another 2. Ve'en beden jakul, mosifin alehem od echad. Hare kan 5.
Alors là, lui, et ça c'est Rabbi Yehuda, ça.
Exactly. So it says the Gemara, you see very clearly that Rabbi Yehuda, he doesn't want you to have an even number. So only by bedin of the Sanhedrin does he say because there's a pasuk. But here we see a Mishnah very clearly that says that Rabbi Yehuda says that you need 5. Why? Because he doesn't want there to be an even number. So says the Gemara, the Rabbi Yeshaya difami de Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, yes, we see that Rabbi Yehuda is like that, but Rabbi Yeshaya is better than Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Di'ilu Rabbi Yehuda b'sanhedre gdola hu delet le ha bishar bedina itle v'Rabbi Yeshaya bishar bedina nami let le. So he says, because the fact that Rabbi Yehuda needed you to have an odd number by the smaller bedin, right? That wasn't really proved from psukim.
Right, sorry, the truth is he was okay with a shakul for 70.
Yeah.
He was okay also for 2. He's not okay for 5.
No, he didn't say. He never said anything about 2.
No, that was your Rabbi Yochanan.
No, that was Rabbi Yoshaya. That we tried saying in Rabbi Yoshaya that 2 is going to be enough.
Sorry, the first one was,
And now we're just trying to prove how can Rabbi Yoshaya be how can Rabbi Yoshaya say that there's 2? How can he say theoretically that there's 2?
So Rabbi Yehuda, he didn't give an opinion on the 2 or 3. He just gave an opinion on 70, 71, and 5.
And now he said 5.
Right.
And why did he say 5?
He didn't speak about the 2 or 3.
Exactly, he didn't speak about that. Why did he say 5?
Because he has 2 and 2, but it cannot be shakul. You need to add somebody.
Very good. So now the Gemara says Rabbi Yeshaya is better than Rabbi Yehuda. Why?
What does that mean?
Why is he better? Because he's more consistent with his opinion. By the Bedin of Shivim, what do we say? We said there was a pasuk, Esvali Shivim Ish Miziknei Israel, right? So there's 70 over there. Mm-hmm. And over here, what is he going to do? He's going to use the pasuk literally. That what? It says Samechu and Ziknei, that's going to be 4. And he's going to say, yeah, we're going to stay with 4. The same way that we stayed with the 70 over there by that one. We're going to stay with the 4 over here and not have to add on an extra 1 to be an odd number. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay? Ha bishal bedin. So he says, the ilu Rabbi Yehuda b'Sanhedrin gedola hu delet le. Ha bishal bedina itle. Rabbi Yeshaya bishal bedina nami let le. Rabbi Yeshaya says even in other bedin you don't need to add an odd number. You can even have the even number. So says the Gemara, ve'ela hailin tot mai avid le. So if you're going to say that Rabbi Yeshaya says that you don't need to have an odd number, right? So what does he use the pasuk of lintot for? That you have to tip the scales towards the majority, right? If you're going to have an even number, then you won't have tipping towards the majority. So what does he do it? He says mukimla bedine nefashot. Mukimla bedine nefashot. He says that this pasuk of you have to tip the scale in the favor is only going to be for dine nefashot. Where over there you're going to need the majority, okay? Which basically means that over there, since the half is going to be 35, right? You're going to need, in order to make him chayav mitah, you're going to need to have 36 and 34. 36 in favor of killing him, 34 in favor of saving him, and only then can he be chayav mitah. Okay. Aval bedine mamonot lo. So says the Gemara, elahad etnan, but that which was written in the Mishnah, shnayim omrim zakai, vechad omer chayav. If two dayanim say he's righteous, he's good, and one says he's chayav, he's liable. Zakai, he's zakai. Shnayim omrim, if there are two people that say chayav, ve'echad omer zakai, and one says that he isn't liable, chayav, he's going to be chayav. Why? Because you have the majority. Neima delo ke Rabbi Yoshaya. So say this Mishnah is not going to be like Rabbi Yoshaya, right? Why? Because we see over here that it says that you're going to have, or you're going to always follow the majority. Says the Gemara, afilu tema Rabbi Yeshaya. You can even say this is Rabbi Yeshaya. He's gonna learn it from a kal v'chomer of dinei nefashot. Uma dinei nefashot dechamiri, just like dinei nefashot, which is obviously a lot more serious and a lot more strict. Amar Rachmana, the Torah said, zil bataruba, you go after the majority. Dinei mamonot lo kol sheken. So dinei mamonot is going to be for sure. Meaning, what was the problem here? According to Rabbi Yeshaya, it sounds like from the fact that he says that you need 3 from the psukim, it sounds like he needs a unanimous decision. He needs there to be all 3 in the same way, right? Why? Because he says that you need 3, right? You need to have 3 judges, which means it sounds like you need the 3 judges to be the same thing.
No. If you need 3, it's not because you need all of them to say the same thing. Okay. It's because you want majority.
Very good. When we had the concept of achare rabim lehatot, what did he say? That it applies only to dinei nefashot, correct?
Yes.
So that means it doesn't apply to dinei mamonot.
Yes.
If it doesn't apply to dinei mamonot, it sounds like we don't follow the majority by dinei mamonot, and we have to go with, because the pasuk said 3, so that means all 3 need to be the same thing. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So the Mishnah, we just saw a Mishnah that what does the Mishnah say?
I don't know what the Mishnah says.
The Mishnah over here says that if there were 2 that said zakai and 1 said chayav, he's zakai. He's acquitted, right? If there's 2 that say he's chayav and 1 that says zakai, then he's chayav, which means that we follow the majority, even by dinei mamonot. So that sounds like it's not like Rabbi Yeshaya, because he said originally what we said on top was that Rabbi Yeshaya only says by dinei nefashot you need to follow the majority, you need to follow 36-34 in order to make him chayav.
But this Mishnah doesn't say whether we're talking about dinei mamonot or dinei nefashot.
Which one? No, the Mishnah does.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the Mishnah was talking about it. So,
of dinei mamonot.
So the answer that the Gemara gives is that even Rabbi Yeshaya is going to agree in this case. And the fact that he needs 3 doesn't mean that he needs 3 unanimous decisions. And the fact that we said before that it only applies to dinei nefashot isn't correct. And really he's going to admit that even in dinei mamonot, we follow the majority. Why? Because he says, if dinei nefashot, which is so much more serious, right? We can be lenient, and even if 36 say he's going to be patur, we make him patur, and we do not need the full 70 to say patur.
You just said for dinei nefashot.
For dinei nefashot, we can follow the majority.
Yes.
And we don't need to follow the even to make him either chayav or
it would be much more stringent if we needed to have 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, if by dinei nefashot we were lenient and we allowed the majority to rule him positively, right? So by dinei mamonot, which is much less serious, so for sure we can follow the majority.
Okay. Which means you need to have a bet din shakul.
No, which means that even according to Rabbi Yeshaya still sticks with his opinion that says that you don't need to have an odd number for bedin. Okay. However, even he admits that when you do have an odd number, you can follow the majority and you don't have to have a unanimous decision.
But then you run into the problem that you might not have a majority.
So in that case, whenever there isn't a majority, you're going to follow the majority based on the greater majority, which means 36-34, as opposed to having only one extra.
Yeah, you might run into a problem where you're 35-35.
Yeah. You might have that problem, yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't really address what's going to be the case in 50-50, but he admits that the monetary cases, at least, they have 3, right? Why do they have 3? Because of the pasuk. So you're not going to have, in a regular monetary case, you're not going to run into this problem. The only problem that might arise is that you might not have a unanimous decision, and that we said Rabbi Yeshaya is in agreement that even for a non-unanimous decision we can go with it. Okay. That Hashem will stop here at the 2 dots. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.